Looking at our data, there is no sigma. Therefore, when the sigma is unknown, we know that we have to use the t-test. Finding the critical t is understood as a two-tailed case, meaning that when you look at the t-table, it asks for one tail or two. If we have 90%, we know what's left is 10%. Therefore, we look for 0.10 on top of the table of the two-tailed section. Then we subtract n minus 1 for the degrees of freedom on the left side of the table. In this case, n minus 1 or 50 minus 1 is 49. You will notice that the chart only goes up to 30. It does not matter, so we will take the number closest to n minus 1. They both meet at the number 1.697. Therefore, our confidence level is of 1.697.
Now we have to find the E or margin of error in order to actually complete the equation. So E equals t-score times divided by square root of n. So therefore you just plug in the numbers, which would give you 0.54 hours. Finally, we have the necessary values to actually complete the construction of the confidence interval. We now have that the equation is x bar, or mean, minus margin of error less than mu, which is less than x bar plus E. So now we just have to plug in or substitute the numbers, solve, and there you go. Therefore, our final answer is 7.96 is less than mu, which is less than 9.04 hours a day of work time for employees at the bank. So there you go.
On the second problem, to begin with, we need the same variables as the ones previously mentioned. To do this, we must calculate S and X bar, using the numbers from the table. The X bar, in this case, we have to use the equation, because it's not given from the table of values. So the average is equal to the sum of xi's divided by n. Now, just plug in the values given from the table into the equation, which would give you 5.75 hours rounded. There is also an equation to get the S, which is the square root of the sum of the x values minus the x bar squared, divided by n minus 1. So you also just plug in the values, which would give you 1.1592, 0.2312 hours.
Write down the x-bar and the standard deviation of the sample down. Then we have to identify the missing variables. First, the n is 5 because the table shows the sample size of 5 teenagers, such as Ricardo, Daniela, Fernando, Sofia, and Carlos. Now, and for the confidence level, the question asks for a 99% interval. Just like in the first example, we have to use a t-test because the sigma is unknown. In this case, if we have 99%, that leaves us with 1%. Therefore, we look for 0.01 on top of the table in the two-tailed section. Then we subtract n minus 1 for the degrees of freedom on the left side of the table. In this case, n minus 1 or 5 minus 1 equals 4. And since in this case 4 is less than 30, so it will show up on the left side of the table. Finally, they both meet at the number 4.604. Therefore, our confidence level is at 4.604.
Now, we have to find the E, or also called the margin of error, in order to complete the equation. The E is equal to the t-score times s divided by the square root of n. So you just have to plug in the numbers and that should give you 2.39 hours as the margin of error. Finally, we have the necessary values to complete the equation for constructing the confidence interval. We know that the equation is x bar or mean of the sample minus margin of error less than mu, which is less than x bar plus e. So now we just have to plug in or substitute the numbers, solve, and voila. Therefore, the final answer should be 3.36 is less than mu, which is less than 8.14 hours of watching Netflix daily.